I have 6 o'clock. This is a public hearing on the 2022-2023 tax rate. Any and all members of the public who wish to speak to that, question or comments to council are free to do so now. Please go up to the mic, give us your name, not that mic, microphone. Give us a address and a name, and we'll be glad to hear you. Yes.
Push the button, Terry.
There we go. Terry Henley, 12203 Alston Drive. Comment has to do with the tax rate. And based on the notice that you published, you're proposing a tax rate of 0.80600 per $100 valuation, which is equivalent to an 8% increase over the amount of taxes you're paying on the previous year. It's an 8% increase. And I think that's what I'd heard that you were proposing. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And does the budget reflect the full 8% increase? I just got a copy of it. So you have budgeted, not including money for road improvements, right?
So Terry, the regular budget is balanced at the 3.5%. The delta between the 3.5 and the 8 is putting strictly for infrastructure. So it's going to go to roads, repair, sidewalks. It's being put in a special line item.
Which really doesn't have anything to do with M&O. It has to do with more like capital improvements. Correct?
That would be correct.
Okay.
Could be. Yeah.
So what you're saying is the budget for the coming year is proposed at a 3.5% increase, which covers M&O. Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And the delta is capital.
And how much dollar value is estimated that additional 4.5% represents?
$286,000.
286 to go towards the road improvements. Okay.
Correct.
All right. And the current road improvement taking place right now on Dorrance.
Say that again, Terry. I'm sorry.
The current project
The
on
current
Dorrance?
project on Dorrance between Oxford and Kirkwood is exceeding $1 million. Is that correct?
Correct.
And that's approximately 1,000 feet.
Correct.
Okay. Now, if we use that same approach in the coming years to make the infrastructure improvements we need, it's probably going to exceed 100 years in order to complete the city. Is that the right approach? When we do little bitty bits and pieces each year, it jacks up our actual cost when you're looking at engineering and construction, when you're doing a little bitty piece at a time, rather than doing most of it at one time, or at least big chunks. And the only way to get where we need to go from the infrastructure rebuild in the city is bonds. And it needs to be presented to the citizens in the city of Meadows Place and to see if they think that's the right place to go. We all know we need the improvements. We all know we got to have infrastructure improvements, so we've got to upgrade them and prevent it from tearing down and falling apart. But we can't get there under the current process. And y'all need to understand that. I'm sure you do. You've had discussions on it. So please keep that in mind when you're looking at how do I get where I need to go and keep the city, you know, up there at one of the best little communities in the state of Texas.
We have looked at it, Terry. I want to jump in here. So the bond capacity of the city is between $15 and $20 million. So that is the most we could borrow. The tax rate on that is probably 20 cents per hundred just to pay that back over the next 20 years. So what we would take to the voters is give us $15 million to fix Section 1. It's going to cost you 20 cents on your tax rate for the next 20 years. And then we'll start talking to you about Section 2. And I don't know if the voters would actually go for that.
Well, if the voters understood what you're doing now with a little bitty piecemeal, you're never going to get there.
Well, what we're hoping is once we get this first piece of Dorrance done, it will generate more interest and people will actually support bumping that tax rate in order to do the work. So we'll, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, and
it's
somehow,
it's 100 years.
I understand. Somehow we're going to have to get there, and it may take more than one proposition on the, you know, presented to the vote. You know, you may have to come at it every year for the next 3 or 4 years to get there, but it's something.
But
that's,
Terry, we can't borrow that much money.
No, I'm saying if it fails the first year, you come back the next year, and you keep, you know, keep. I understand that, but you know, at some point, you've got to float a bond in order to accomplish what you're trying to do. Because by the time you get it done on the current scenario, you'll be reworking what's already been done. Of course, none of us will be here, but you know, it's within 50 or 60 years, you got to start redoing what you've already done.
Yep.
And with the number of miles in the city and the current rate, it'd take you a minimum of 100 years to get there. So it just needs to be looked at. And you've looked at it, and you've got to somehow bite the bullet and keep trying to get the money needed. Now, I agree, and I'm working at the state and federal level. Already I'm talking with HGAC and some representatives. If we could possibly get some federal or state money for small city infrastructure, but that's very, very difficult. And you've already gone down that road, I know, but all we can do is keep talking about it.
And we're going to count on you to keep trying.
And I will keep talking about it, okay?
And we're also going to be, once we get going, Terry, we will be working with the county to see if we can get some infrastructure mobility bond stuff.
Right.
But in the interim, we want to do something.
Right.
Nick, you got some interesting figures there.
That's what we call an alley-oop.
Yeah.
Mr. Henley, I think you and I talked a little bit about this, and I've got some information here that is a little bit old, a little bit dated, but I think it's interesting, and I think it'd be important to share. So this is about 2 years old, but it's still a good ballpark idea of what it would do to the tax rate based on how much we'd want to borrow. Part of the thing that council has to look at when they look at the borrowing money is essentially the net taxable value on the ground of the entire city. A penny on the rate in Meadows Place is much different than a penny on the rate would be in, say, Sugar Land, for example. Here we're looking at a net taxable assessed total of somewhere on the order of about $450 million. This sheet that our bond council gave us a couple of years ago had a net taxable a little bit less than that, but this is still a good ballpark idea. So if we're looking at, let's say, borrowing $5 million to do what would essentially be a few blocks of roadway. If you were to borrow that and have to pay it back over 20 years at about 2%, you're looking at about 8 cents on your tax rate over 20 years.
Well, other alternatives is to looked at it paying it back quicker than the 20 years, maybe 10 years. So it's something that, you know.
You could do that, but
Okay.
that would also jack your rate up, and it might be jacking it up so much that we couldn't legally do it.
I understand.
And so, you know, when you look at that, I've always told council that when you look at raising the rate based on a bond election, you can probably do that once. But if you borrow enough to get anything significant done, you're going to be raising the rate so much you're probably going to be approaching 90 cents on your tax rate at some point, and going out for another bond when your tax rate is close to 90 cents is going to be a tall order. And so that's really sort of it's a one-shot kind of a deal. The value on the ground just doesn't support us borrowing enough money in order to do any significant work in town in order to get very large stretches of road done. I mean, a $10 million bond 2 years ago, to go out and borrow $10 million over 20 years at about 2%, you're talking about almost 16 cents on your tax rate. That's a considerable jump.
Well, all I'm saying is we need to be exploring and trying to do all of the above, and at some point, a bond's going to have to be issued in order to accomplish more than what we're doing right now. That's
It's a balancing act. There's no question.
I understand that. Yeah.
So Terry, in order for us to raise $1 million, that's going to be roughly 23 cents on the tax rate. So next year, if you can generate the support to go from 0.8 to $1.03 on the tax rate, and you think you can get the citizens to go for that, I think council would happily increase the rate we're improving infrastructure. That $1 million could go towards straight projects once a year, or it could be towards a bond payment.
If you keep the tax rate for M&O at 3 or 3.5% and not increase it more than that, and the balance of that goes to a fund for infrastructure rebuild, then your best approach is to not go at an 8% increase, but go at a 12 or 15% increase, and put no more money in it, and that way you'll get there quicker. So those discussions, I'm assuming you've had in your budget workshops, and that should be being looked at right now. I'm assuming has been.
And you're talking to somebody who would love to go to 20.
Okay.
So for the second full year, this city has a 15-year capital improvement plan, a CIP, and it lays out not only time frames but dollar figures to go with those time frames. And I think staff has done a good job of showing council. In fact, council adopts that every year, and every year we revisit it. And we look at, is this time frame still realistic? Are these dollar figures still realistic?
And before the state legislature starts looking at this and changing what we can do, we need to accumulate as much money as possible to work on our infrastructure. So based on what you're telling me, and you're maintaining an M&O of no more than 3 or 3.5%, the balance goes into the infrastructure fund. You need to look at a 15 or 20% increase this year, and every year thereafter until you get some flack. Okay?
So if you think about it this way, the city runs on about a $6.3 million general fund budget. This is the first year that, probably in the city's history, where you've put away what's roughly amounts to about 5% of that budget just for infrastructure.
Okay.
Just
That's
for infrastructure.
Good. That's
This,
good.
by the way, is the first part of the mayor's comments.
Okay. Moving in the right direction. That's good. Okay.
It is, Terry. And
Yeah.
Terry, trust me, I think that conversation that we held multiple times during the budget process caused everybody some grief and some angst. The problem we have is that people in Section 4 figure they'll probably be dead before we get through paying for
Before
1,
we
2,
get
and
over
3.
there, because that's a newer section and it's only 30 years old, so that's true. But
So
that's
what we're trying to do, Terry, is to do a pay-as-you-go. And you should remember the fact that when it cratered in 2008,
yep.
what's one of the big nuts that we had to pay and had no way out was the debt on our bond.
Correct.
We had to pay that. We're sitting there paring back in parks, paring back in public works, paring back in police, but we can't pare back in that. And that's one of the big incentives here, is we don't want to be caught locked into a debt that we can't do anything about should the economy tank.
Right.
And I think that's one of the factors that weighed in the pay-as-you-go process.
Well, yeah, ideally you will pay as you go, but at the same time, to get where you need to go, that's going to get part of it. Won't get all of it.
Well,
that's,
if you can figure out a way to do that.
Pay as you go? No.
And you can't do a bond.
Well, you can do a bond to some
Get
degree.
a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I want that little bit being done in front of my house. Okay? If not, I'm not bringing it up. So that's the issue that we've
Well,
debated.
you got to look at it objectively, and now whether it's
I
section
did.
1, section
I
2,
wanted
and
it
so on.
fixed
Yeah.
in front of my
Right.
house. And I think
Understand.
everybody, and I talked
And
to
that's, and
everybody
that's
on
what you're
this
gonna,
council.
right, and that's what you're gonna run into with the voters is,
Yeah.
I want my street fixed. I'm not voting to fix that street over there.
Not if I'm going to be dead before it's paid off.
And so, the target is Dorrance, and then move on to either Mulholland or Montecito, hit the roads that everybody uses, and then start spreading off from there.
I think the other thing is the capital improvement projects, and I think Kurt brought this up at a meeting last Friday, is that there are additional things that we can do to improve infrastructure other than total replacement, and that would be doing water lines, sewer tests. Rod came to us with a updated CIP, and so some of those water rate increases.
Some things can't be left until you get to it.
That's
true.
correct.
No,
And
you're
so
right. That's
some
true.
of that,
Yeah.
some of that is precipitated on. The good news is that in the past 2 years, I think since Rod's been here, and maybe just because I've seen it, there is a plan now, a CIP plan that actually looks at both the long-term things that should be done and the immediate-term things that are just problems waiting to happen. And we've been fortunate to have some ARPA money from the federal part. We've had some additional mobility, some bond money from the county. We're actually addressing things finally that maybe we could have addressed years ago, but it's the beginning, and I think that's the whole point, is that the part of the reason we stopped at 8 was that we could make that decision around the electrum here. We could make that decision. If we go above that, then it becomes a voter issue. And this year we were looking at...
And you can make the decision above 8%, unless the voters say something about it.
That's...
And I'm about the only ones to say anything about it, so, go do what you need to do.
Yeah, and that may be the tone we take next year. This year we looked at it and said, with inflation the way it's going and with people already going to be seeing some other increases,
Right.
that maybe
Good
8%
point.
is a good
Okay.
number to start with.
Okay.
Let's put the money in the right place. Let's earmark it so it doesn't get spent on other stuff. It's going to go to the infrastructure.
Yeah, as long as it's earmarked, and as long as the attorney says yes, you can do that, and as general law cities can do that and use it for infrastructure, and not just M&O, and as long as it's been defined, you should be okay.
It
Which
has
is good.
been defined.
That's
It's
good.
already sitting in there. Our finance director has put a little slot there with the name beside it, and it's designated, Terry. And that's the
Good.
whole point.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I
Good.
wish we had the kind of money on the ground that Sugarland did, or Shenandoah, but we don't.
Well, Mount Bellevue is the one you ought to look at the money they got. But anyway,
That'd be another one. Terry, thank you very much. Anyone else wish to address council?
I'm Mike Besner at 11842 Mulholland Drive since 1975. I want to address item number 040563-500, street repair.
Mike, what are you're discussing?
Street repair is $50,000 for last year and $50,000 for this year. There's no increase. There's no increase for...
This public hearing is about the tax rate, Mike. This is a public hearing about the tax rate. Can you hold off a little bit till we close this public hearing out?
Yeah, well, you mean after 6:30?
Yep.
Well, I want to say something real quickly, is that there's no increase for road repair or sidewalk repair in this budget. That means you're going to do less road repair and less sidewalk repair this year than you did last year because of the rate inflation.
Thank you very much.
And I
Your
wouldn't-
comments are duly noted, Mike. Now, you'd like to come back and bring it up when we discuss that item. We'd love to do that with you.
Well, I don't mind paying for extra taxes if I can see something being done about the infrastructure and do away with some of the amenities that we have here in the Meadows.
Yeah, I know. Like air conditioning, we could cut that out. I'm not far removed from that. I grew up in Bel Air, Mike, and everybody went nuts when they laid that down. And everybody was sure glad for 15 years because it was nice and quiet and smooth. So you're not having to convince me. Anyone else? Council, I think with the fact that we've had folks, there's nobody else here.
I mean, there's nothing else to do. You can just leave it open. We'll close it at 6:30. Wait.
Okay, so if you want to take a break till we get back, anybody comes up, we'll holler at you. Officer Malotson. I want to say I thought you did a great job of mingling with the crowd during that dance off out at the in the cul-de-sac there. Looks like that's not the first time you've done that. But thank you for doing it. It was a great addition of our police force out with our public. I thought it was great. I didn't see Assistant Chief Ashton out there, though. Did I miss your... Did I just miss you?
Mr. Mayor, you know I'm a behind-the-scenes guy. I know where to be.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if there's no one else who wishes to address council during the public hearing, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing, and we are going to adjourn this meeting of the public hearing. All right, and that moves us up to 2 minutes before we open the next one.